Well, hello. This is going to be unlike any other Spiritual Sunday video I plan on doing for probably the rest of the year until next year. And that is because we're going to talk about my personal religious views, my religious story, and this is really not for you. It's for me. And I've decided to do this every single year around my birthday. Birthday's tomorrow, so whatever Sundays around my birthday, I plan on just kind of updating you, but also, again, me for the future, just to see how my spiritual journey grows. Before we continue, I just want to say thank you for watching. Again, this is probably not the video for you, so go ahead and check out some other videos that we made. If they're spiritual, if they're techie, whatever there are, go ahead and check those out, and love you. So to begin, the Mendenhalls came over in the 1500s, but they were Quakers. My family were Quakers for years, hundreds of years, and I was not raised as a Quaker, but I feel like I have some of that influence inside of me because we were just indoctrinated into that for hundreds of years. What that means is that I never believed that God let certain people be able to speak to him, so like the sanctity of priests or pastors never mattered to me. Didn't, because you're supposed to have an individual relationship with God. So that plus a bunch of others, I feel like there are some influences from that Quakership and just being dropped down after generation after generation. But I was raised Christian, and from the beginning of my memories, I remember us going to church. I used to live in Oregon, and I remember my dad being a youth leader, youth pastor, but not really a pastor, at our small Baptist church. And we were just a big part of that community. And then once we moved over to Delaware, first we actually moved to Maryland and stayed with my grandma for a couple years. So we actually went to an Assembly of God church there. And then we only stayed there for a couple months. But then we moved on to Delaware and we joined the United Methodist Church. During this time, my father actually stopped going to church. He stopped his faith. Funny enough, my sister became a youth leader in the United Methodist Church. And we continued going to church for a couple of years. After my parents' divorce, we stopped. But when I hit high school, I came back and I was in the youth group that my sister led. And I was a big part of that church. At least twice a week going to church or church events. Most weeks it was more than 3 times. It was a bunch. We had Bible study and just different dinners, different events, different things to help out. So basically my whole entire high school years, I was part of the church in a big way. So much so I was baptized when I was 16, and then I decided I wanted to become a pastor in some sort of it. I wanted to go ahead and take the tools that were given to me and give back to the community. And I also wanted to be in the military, so I decided I would become a chaplain in the Air Force. A lot of my brother-in-laws are in the Air Force, so it just kind of made sense at the time. And so I went ahead and got accepted into Eastern University, and I was going to become part of the ROTC and just become an officer and become a chaplain for the U.S. Air Force. However, when I was 17, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, and that is one of the diseases that you cannot have in the military. So they disqualified me from joining. So I transitioned my view into, hey, we don't have to be a chaplain. That's fine. Let's still give back to God. So we'll just be a pastor. So I attended Eastern University for a year before my funds ran out, and I was planning on triple majoring in biblical studies, theological studies, and youth ministry. And then continuing on from there, I would go get my master's of divinity. But as I said, the funds ran out and I had to leave school. So I still continued my biblical knowledge and my biblical studies on the side. Got a lot of different books and kept studying what I needed to study, but it just didn't feel right. I came to the conclusion that if there is a God, then he doesn't want me to become a pastor, or this time is not right for me to become a pastor, or God doesn't exist and shit just happens. So that's where I came to the conclusion that it was one of those 3. And again, I was going to church and I was still part of some like young adult ministries, but it just kind of fell off from there. A lot of the questions that I was suppressing, or the questions that I had, just kept coming up. The inconsistencies within the Bible kept coming up, and I transformed myself into an agnostic, and then kept flipping between agnostic and atheist, back and forth, really until the past year. So in August of 2022, I moved to New Mexico, and in September, I started practicing some yoga. And I don't mean just hot yoga you're doing in positions. I mean actual yoga with meditation, reading the sutras, and just kind of getting into it. And currently I would call myself a yogi agnostic, because I don't necessarily believe in the God mechanism that they have, or that God exists in general, but I like the idea that all religions are correct, that they all have a little snippet of the truth inside of them, and just the peaceful nature of the yogic experience. And I truly believe in loving your neighbor and your enemy, which might have something to do with my Christian background, because again, that's what Jesus preached. Now, to fully kind of get into a little bit more understanding of what I currently believe, so my future self can rewatch this and kind of get into it, I have some questions that I just would like to have the answers to, that I'm going to go ahead and answer. So first, is there a God? I would say no. But that'd be super dope if there was. I'd be super thrilled if there was. But currently, I don't believe so. Again, I'm keeping the door cracked because, again, I would love there to be one. Do I believe in ghosts? No. I do not, but I do believe I've seen them, which I know is not like the most logical just statement right there. But I'll get into it on a different episode, but ghosts don't exist. What happens when you die, right? So what happened before you were born? Nothing. There was nothing there. You didn't have a brain to understand memory. So I believe when you die, you're just gone, which is peaceful when you had a suffering life, which is not peaceful for the people that are still living because they miss you. But for you yourself, you are at peace because you cannot be anything else. There's nothing. The Hindus and the yogis all preach about reincarnation, but they also believe that everything is vibration. And really, everything is vibration, right? We're talking about atoms. We're all made out of atoms, and we're all technically vibrating right now. And when you die, your essence, right? Your atoms that are you break down, and those atoms continue on living and thriving because, again, you cannot destroy any matter, right? So you then become something new, whether that's a tree, whether that's a little bug, whether that bug gets eaten by an insect, and the insect then gets eaten by whatnot. So it just continues and continues and continues. And that's beautiful in its own way. So I believe in that type of logical way of thinking about it. How is life made? So I believe that you should ask a scientist, but there's some, little vents in the bottom of the ocean, and there's that little soup of a bunch of different type of molecules that took a lot of time, and eventually something that we call life came about. And through the process of evolution over millions and millions of years, created more complex life and created us. Again, if you really want to go about it right, if you just take your grandfather's grandfather and you go back millions of years, then you get to like a little tiny rodent creature, which is cool, but that's your grandpa. That's my grandpa. That's all of our grandpas. Like, that's interesting. But yeah, it's neither here nor there. We'll continue. What's the meaning of life? Whew. There's no meaning of life, okay? Except for the one that you give for yourself. There's no one meaning of life for everybody. It's what is meaningful to you, and what is your understanding of what your life is going to be, right? If you take a concept of like, okay, Michael's life, what is the meaning of my life? What do I want to accomplish? What good, what bad? Like, what is my life? And if you were to summarize my whole life and give that meaning, what would it be? That would be the meaning of life for myself, just like you. Where do you get your morals if you're not a Christian anymore? Well, one, because Christianity was ingrained in me from the beginning, those morals still exist inside of me, but just picture a bird without the cage anymore, right? I'm free to not feel bad if I go ahead and I sin, right? So I don't have any fear, I don't have any pressure of not sinning, which is great. Um, and so you could do some sinful things without feeling awful about it. Um, so again, where do my morals come from? Again, they come from that beginning. So I'm not going to go ahead and murder somebody. But at the end of the day, it's just, when you have that openness, you can see why other people are correct and kind of base it off of what you think yourself and just use your mind and use what you want. And that's what truly is being free, right? I am an American, so I have a lot of rights, but like, what is freedom? It's doing what you will without hurting anybody. A couple things that I would just say I value, like love everyone, turn the other cheek, be a good person, and perform good deeds. What would Jesus do, right? The 90s thing? Like, what would Jesus do? He was a great person. He was kind. He was true. And, like, what would Jesus do in this circumstance is a really good thing. And the coexist bumper sticker, right? Like, I would like us all to coexist peacefully. If you want to believe what you want to believe, go ahead. I'm not going to force myself onto you, but that works both ways. And so coexisting is a major concern. But yeah, it's my birthday tomorrow. I really don't want to make this a super long video. It's already 15 goddamn minutes. What? Oh my god. So yeah, we're going to have to go edit that right now. So I'm not going to get into it anymore. But I love you. I hope you spread some peace and hope and love. And I just love you guys so much. Have a great day. If you're here listening to this, you shouldn't be. Again, this is for me. But again, thanks for watching.